I've since reduced my speed and turned off the heater.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we are taking our first long range or long range-ish drive in our new, or my wife's new, Bolt EUV. Now we are just making a 181 mile drive to the Kansas City area from the Wichita area. Not for anything cool, unfortunately. We're picking up a piece of furniture for our new home that we are building. So again, nothing that cool or exciting, but we're taking her new Bolt, which shouldn't be an issue at all because the Bolts are rated at 247 miles. And looking at Google Maps, from our doorstep here to the store is only 181 miles. But that's kind of where the issue comes in. It has been very, very cold in the Wichita area for the last week or so. I'm talking below freezing, just nasty cold weather. Now, electric vehicles do take a pretty large hit or range loss due to cold weather. Today we are, I believe it is like 50 degrees out now, so we are considerably warmer than we were during this past week. But this Bolt charged up to 100%, I just unplugged it and started filming. We are only showing 197 miles of range. So due to the cold weather, due to the, driving conditions this last week, again, we are almost missing 50 miles of range on this brand new Bolt. Now, yes, once it warms up, that will, increase itself, but again, if you're buying an electric vehicle as your only or primary vehicle, you definitely need to keep this in mind, as this is going to be something that affects your ability to do long distance traveling or even commuting if you've got an extremely long commute. So today we are going to be driving 181 miles with our 197 miles of effective range, and hopefully, pending the math is correct, we will get there fine. Obviously, we'll need to charge in Kansas City and then drive ourselves back. So like I said, this is her and I's longest trip in an EV, and it's already giving us a little bit of range anxiety due to the extremely low or range loss here. So I will quickly show you guys the dash showing you our range that we are leaving on, and then I'll update you guys a couple, as we're driving, and we'll see how this goes. So guys, jumping in here, we are 100% charged and we are showing 198 miles on the Bolt. So again, this should be totally fine. We should get there and have 10 or 11 miles left on the range. We'll obviously need to charge and then hopefully drive home very fine. But as you guys may or may not know, there are a lot of charging infrastructure issues with the third-party chargers. Stradman just had a video recently with his Hummer EV and his trials and tribulations of getting that Hummer charged and trying to make it back home and having a world of issues. Yes, his truck might have had some weird charging issues, but still, just half the chargers don't work or won't fast charge, so it might be an interesting long day.
All right, guys, so we've been driving just for a short while here already, and our original difference between the total available range and our trip range was like 18 or 17 miles. We are already down to showing like 12 miles of available or extra range, I guess I should say. The difference between our total trip and our available range. Now, I don't know how clear you guys can see or not, but we do have good tire pressure. That's one thing. It is very cold outside, tire pressure drops, but we are at 41 to 42 PSI on all the tires. So it's not like we are just getting poor, efficiency due to low cold tires. So that is not the question. Now, speed. The speed limit is 75 miles an hour. I have the cruise control set at 76. So we're doing the speed limit and we are still slowly ticking away mileage slightly quicker than what we left with. So I don't know, just an update here. It is 56 degrees outside. So again, not terribly cold, but I mean, it's not a perfect, beautiful 70 degrees. So, but I don't know. I will keep driving, pick you guys back up, and we will see what we can see here. All right, so quick little update here. We've been driving for a little while longer. And again, it is 56 degrees out still, but instead of our like 11 or 12 mile buffer, or, you know, range that would be left by the time we get back, we're up to 20 miles of range. So I don't know if it is just kind of calculating better, or is it calculating with our just kind of consistent battery usage on the highway here, or what. But again, it is now slowly getting better. You know, like I said, when we left, we had like a 17-mile little buffer, or what would have been left. We got on the road, it dropped down to 11 or 12, and now we're up to 20-ish. So that's at least a good way for it to be moving while you're on a road trip. Well guys, we made it to IKEA to pick up the furniture that I was talking about with the Bolt. Made the trip fine. Let's jump inside and see what our range is left as we showed up here. All right guys, so as it is 181 miles here, we are showing 26 miles remaining of available or effective range. So our, you know, 181 miles driving here left us, like I said, with 26 miles.
So guys, here we are now charging before we make our way back home. And like I said, you know, just kind of, I guess, interesting seeing the massive range loss with not terribly cold weather. I understand it is hard for EVs on the highway, just at a constant 75+ mile an hour. That is not very effective versus driving at slower speeds in town. But still, the fact that we basically lost 50 miles of range is just, I don't know, pretty crazy. And again, it wasn't terribly cold out. As I'm talking right now, it's 59 degrees. So it'll be interesting, I guess, seeing once we are fully charged up. It's showing a projected range of 202 miles. So again, nowhere near that 247 miles of projected range. So I will check back in with you guys once we are fully charged, and we will see, you know, what that range is, and then we will get back on the road and get back home.
All right guys, so little update here. I wasn't really going to do any update until we fully got home, but it has gotten pretty ridiculous. The temperatures dropped as we are driving back from Kansas City, and we are just actively losing range. We were at one point to the point where we were about 5 miles short of getting home. I've since reduced my speed and turned off the heater to gain back some of those lost miles. So I mean, it just seems a little ridiculous. We are 43 degrees outside. So yes, I understand that's cold, but I don't know. Just seems a little ridiculous that we are really, you know, trying to have to drive under the speed limit and, you know, turn off a lot of systems that we would be more comfortable using to gain or to make our, you know, effective range all the way home, when this should have 60, 70 miles further than this trip is. But again, we'll talk about that more once we get home, if we get home. And if we don't get home, I'll pull you guys out and we'll talk on the side of the road.
Well guys, we made it back home here, but honestly, just barely. We had 3% battery pulling into the garage, and I had turned off the heater. I was kind of cycling on and off the front defrost just to keep the windows clear, and like I said, I was driving under the speed limit, and we just barely made it 181 miles home. When we pulled in the garage here, I believe it showed 6 miles left. So you're telling me this 230 47-mile range EV could barely make it 181 miles. Now, yes, I understand it's not terribly efficient on the highway with a 75 mile an hour speed, but goodness gracious, I don't know. It just seems a little misleading purchasing a vehicle with a 247 mile range and barely being able to make it, even driving under the speed limit, 181 miles. Yes, it was cooler in the morning when we left, but when we left and got there, we had about 20 miles of range remaining. We were driving into slightly warmer weather during the middle of the day, but when we charged, initially the first night, it only showed 198 miles of available range. Drove there, again, like I said, had 20 miles remaining, plugged into the EVgo Level 3 CCS fast charging, and plugged in, swiped our card, and walked away. In about 1 hour's time, it had reached 80% and shut the charger off. Now, I guess I've never charged at an EVgo location, but for some reason, like I said, it canceled charging at 80%, even though the vehicle was set to 100% charge. I then had to unplug the charger, plug it back in, swipe my card, do everything again to reinitialize the charging from 80 to 100%, which again seemed weird. Maybe that's an EVgo thing, but our Electrified America here at our Wichita location, it will just continue to charge until you stop it or it is done. So that seemed a little weird also, but cost to charge was $47 between the 0 to 80% and then the 80 to 100%. So almost $50 in charging, and now that's not round trip. That is just charging to get the car back home, which we barely did. So almost $50 in fuel would go quite a long way. If this was a Prius that was getting 50 miles to the gallon with its 11 gallon fuel tank, you'd be spending $30 or $40 and have a 500-600 mile range. So I don't know. The math isn't really working out well. Love the car, but it just seems odd that you don't have that full range. Now, when we charged at the EVgo location there in Kansas City, 100%, again, the car showed 198 available miles, and it was high 50s, low 60s there. So again, that's not cold weather, but we were charging in 60-degree weather, and the car still calculated the exact same available range. So 198 miles, we drove 181 and had 3% remaining with 6 miles. Again, that math doesn't add up. And like I said, I had the heater off, I had the heated seats off. I was trying to drive extremely conservatively to make sure we made it home. Now, as we were driving from Kansas City back to Wichita, the temperature was dropping, it was cooling off, it was in the low 40s. But if EVs are that affected with cold weather and range, then my goodness, that is unfortunate. Something needs to be done about that. Now, I've only got experience with the Mini and the Chevy here, so maybe some of you guys can say, hey, Tesla is not as affected, or, different brands maybe are less effective, but we're missing 50 miles of range on this vehicle, and it cost us $50 basically to drive 181 miles. That is not terribly efficient. Now, yes, charging at home is going to be cheaper, charging rate than if you were at a EVgo location or at an Electrified America location. But again, with that range not being there, you then need to charge. And again, if this had 250 miles of range, we would have been able to drive there, have 50, 60 miles worth of range remaining, plug in, charge up to 80% or whatever, and drive the remaining home. But the fact this thing could barely do 181 miles meant we needed to charge from, you know, our 20 miles remaining all the way up to 100%. And thank goodness we did, considering we got here back home at 3%. So, somewhere under the hood, under the car, somewhere we are missing 50 miles of range in this Bolt EUV. I guess I'll be interested to see once the weather warms up here in the Wichita area, once it's summer, once we're 70, 80 degrees, when it is charged 100%, does it all of a sudden show 247 miles or not? Because that will greatly diminish or greatly reduce the amount of places you can go if you are limited to 180, 190 miles before you are walking down the road going home. So I don't know. Let me know some of your guys' trip experiences. Were we doing something wrong? If you go to the screen and it shows you what negatively affects your range, the technique was a huge negative. I had the cruise control set at 75, the speed limit on the turnpike, and was doing absolutely nothing. No passing, no hard acceleration, no nothing. And it was massively losing range. So I don't know, guys. Like I said, I hope you guys can talk down in the comments. Let me know, what am I doing wrong? Where's the missing 50 miles of range? Or maybe that's just how EV travel is. Like I said, we only had the Mini on one long trip, and we did 118 miles in about 100-degree weather with the AC on the whole time on that 114-mile rated vehicle. Now, yes, it did shut down about 2 miles away from the house. We were able to restart and limp the rest of the way home. But yeah, this is a massive difference in range versus advertised range. So I don't know. We still love the car. It's great in town. The value, all of those things that we talk about and know about the Bolt and Bolt EUV obviously still apply. But yeah, we got to find those 50 miles somewhere. So guys, let me know. What does your Bolt charge up to when it is 100%? Does it show 250, 240? What does it show? This one is currently showing 198, and that is a large difference from 247. So yeah, we'll keep playing with it and hopefully not have to walk home sometime. And thank goodness it got us home with 3% remaining. So guys, thanks for coming along on a weird Bolt adventure, and I hope I learn a little bit from you guys down in the comments and am able to make more successful Bolt adventures or long drives in the future. And guys, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.